Rachel Green had been dating Brad Coleman for 8 months, and in that time, she'd learned to make herself smaller. Not physically, though Brad had opinions about that too, but smaller in the ways that mattered, quieter opinions, safer choices, less enthusiasm about things he deemed unimportant, like dessert. Rachel loved dessert, always had. Her grandmother had taught her to bake when she was 6, and some of Rachel's best memories involved flour-covered counters and the smell of cookies in the oven. She worked at a small cafe in the North End, specifically because she loved being around pastries and coffee and the kind of comfort food that made people smile. Brad thought it was a waste of her degree. She had a business degree from Boston College. She could be doing something real instead of serving lattes to tourists. But Rachel loved her job, loved the regulars who came in every morning, loved the elderly Italian men who argued about soccer over espresso, loved the rush of the morning crowd and the quiet of the afternoon lull. She just wished Brad could understand that. Tonight was supposed to be special. Brad had made reservations at Bella Notte, one of the nicest Italian restaurants in the North End. He'd been distant lately, working late, distracted when they were together, and Rachel had hoped this dinner meant he was making an effort. She'd worn her favorite dress, navy blue, fitted but comfortable, the kind that made her feel pretty without trying too hard. She'd done her hair in soft waves, put on the earrings Brad had given her for her birthday. She'd wanted tonight to be perfect. The restaurant was beautiful, dim lighting, white tablecloths, the smell of garlic and wine and fresh bread. They'd been seated in a corner booth, and Brad had spent most of dinner on his phone, occasionally looking up to make conversation about his latest case. Rachel had ordered pasta primavera, her favorite, and had genuinely enjoyed it despite Brad's commentary about carbs. Now, looking at the dessert menu, she felt a familiar excitement. "Oh, they have tiramisu," she said, unable to hide her smile. "I love their tiramisu. I'm definitely getting dessert." Brad looked up from his phone, his expression shifting to something Rachel had learned to recognize. Judgment, dressed up as concern. "Really? Another dessert? You've been eating a lot lately." The words hit like a slap. Rachel's smile faltered. "What? I'm just saying." Brad set down his phone, leaning back with that casual confidence he wore like armor. "You're getting a little chubby, babe. Maybe skip it?" The word hung in the air between them. Chubby. Rachel felt her face flush hot. She set down the dessert menu carefully, her hands suddenly shaking. What? "Don't get defensive. I'm looking out for you." Brad's tone was reasonable, like he was explaining something obvious to a child. "You want to fit into that bridesmaid dress next month, right? Sarah's wedding? You told me it was a little tight when you tried it on." "It wasn't. I just said it was snug, not..." "Exactly. So maybe lay off the tiramisu." He picked up his phone again. "I'm trying to help you, Rachel. Someone has to be honest with you." Rachel stared at her plate, feeling tears prickle behind her eyes. She would not cry. Not here, not in public, not over this. Except it wasn't just this. It was 8 months of comments about her job, her weight, her clothes, her friends. 8 months of feeling like she was never quite good enough, never quite right. She was about to say something. Apologize, probably, because that's what she always did. When a voice cut through the moment like a blade. "You need to leave. Now." Rachel looked up, startled. A man stood beside their table, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive dark suit. He had dark hair, sharp features, and eyes that were currently fixed on Brad with an expression that made Rachel's breath catch. She knew this man. Not personally, but she'd seen him. He came into her cafe every morning at 7:30, ordered an espresso and a cornetto, sat in the corner reading the paper. He was always polite, always tipped well, always had an air of quiet authority that made people give him space. And right now, he was looking at Brad like he wanted to commit murder. Brad blinked, clearly taken aback. Excuse me? Do I know you? No. And you're not going to. The man's voice was low, controlled, dangerous. Get up. Walk out. Don't come back. Listen, buddy. I don't know who you think you are. Someone who knows when to leave before things get unpleasant. The man's expression didn't change, but something in his tone made Brad's face go pale. You have 10 seconds. Brad stood up quickly, nearly knocking over his wine glass. This is insane. Rachel, are you coming? Rachel sat frozen, looking between Brad and this stranger who'd just defended her honor like something out of a movie. The stranger turned to her then, and his expression shifted completely. The danger melted into something softer, warmer. You're perfect, he said quietly, and the words hit Rachel like a punch to the chest. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Then he looked back at Brad, and the warmth disappeared. 9 seconds. Brad grabbed his jacket. This is crazy. Rachel, I'll call you later. We'll talk about this when you're being rational. He left quickly, weaving through tables toward the exit. Several diners watched him go with interest. Rachel sat in shocked silence, staring at the stranger who'd just upended her entire evening. I'm sorry, he said, his voice gentler now. I don't usually interfere in other people's business, but I couldn't. He stopped, seemed to gather himself. You deserve better than that. I don't even know you, Rachel said, but her voice was shaky. No, but I know you. At her confused expression, he smiled slightly. You work at Cafe Amore. You make the best cappuccino in the North End. You always have flour on your apron by noon because you help Angelo with the pastries. And you smile at everyone like they're the most important person in the world. Rachel blinked. You notice all that? I notice everything. He gestured to the booth behind theirs. I was sitting right there, heard everything he said, and I'm not sorry for intervening. Who are you? Giovanni Russo. Most people call me Gio. He held out his hand. Rachel took it automatically. His grip was firm, warm. Rachel Green. I know. You wear a name tag. His smile was slight but genuine. Can I sit, just for a moment? She should say no. She should process what just happened, call Brad back, apologize for the scene. Except she didn't want to do any of those things. Okay, she heard herself say. Gio slid into the booth across from her, where Brad had been sitting moments ago. Up close, he was even more striking. Dark eyes, sharp jaw, the kind of presence that made people look twice. You come to my cafe every morning, Rachel said, needing to say something. Every morning for 6 months, 7:30, espresso and cornetto, corner table. You're very consistent. Creature of habit. He paused. Also, the coffee is excellent and the company is pleasant. The company? You. Even when you're busy, you always take time to ask how my morning is. You remember my order without me saying it. Last week when that tourist was rude to you, you handled it with grace. His expression darkened slightly. Unlike your boyfriend, who should have been treating you like you hung the moon. Ex-boyfriend, Rachel corrected, surprising herself. I think, after that. Good. You deserve someone who appreciates you. You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you better than he did. Gio leaned back. I know you love your job even though people probably tell you you're wasting your degree. I know you stress bake when you're worried, because Angelo mentioned you brought in 3 batches of cookies last Monday. I know you're kind to everyone, even when they don't deserve it. And I know, his gaze held hers, that you're beautiful exactly as you are. Rachel felt tears prickle again, but for different reasons this time. You can't just say things like that to people. Why not? It's true. Because, she gestured helplessly, Because we don't know each other. Because this is crazy. Because you just kicked out my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. And now you're sitting here saying I'm beautiful, and I don't know how to process any of this. Then let me buy you tiramisu while you figure it out. What? You wanted tiramisu. Order it. On me. He caught the waiter's attention with a single gesture, the kind of effortless authority Rachel had seen in her cafe, but never really noticed. 2 tiramisus, please, and another bottle of the Barolo. Gio, you don't have to. I want to. You had a terrible evening because your boyfriend was an ass. Let me improve it slightly. The waiter appeared with wine and knowing eyes. Mr. Russo, of course, right away. After he left, Rachel looked at Gio with new awareness. The waiter knows you. I come here often. He called you Mr. Russo with respect. I tip well. That's not why. Rachel studied him. She'd grown up in the North End. She knew what respect looked like in this neighborhood, what authority looked like. Who are you, really? I already told you. Giovanni Russo. And what do you do, Giovanni Russo? I manage family business interests. It was a careful answer, a practiced one. Rachel thought about the way Brad had gone pale, the way the waiter had appeared immediately, the expensive suit and the quiet authority. She should be scared. She should make an excuse and leave. Instead, she said, family business in the North End. Interesting. Gio's expression shifted slightly. Surprise, maybe. Respect. You're perceptive. I grew up here. I know how things work. She met his eyes directly. Should I be worried? Not from me. Never from me. He said it with such certainty that Rachel believed him. I would never hurt you, Rachel. That's not who I am with people He stopped. With people who matter. I matter. We just met. I've been drinking your coffee for 6 months. We met a long time ago. I'm just now being brave enough to actually talk to you. The tiramisu arrived. 2 perfect portions with delicate cocoa powder dusted on top. Rachel stared at hers, thinking about Brad's words. Chubby. Like it was the worst thing she could be. I'm not skinny, she said quietly. I'm curvy. I like food. I like baking. I like eating the things I make. And Brad always made me feel like that was wrong. Like I should apologize for existing in a body that isn't magazine perfect. Brad is an idiot. Gio picked up his fork. You're beautiful, perfectly proportioned. The kind of beauty that's real instead of manufactured. He took a bite of tiramisu. And anyone who makes you feel bad about enjoying food doesn't deserve to eat with you. Rachel found herself smiling despite everything. That's a very specific insult. I'm Italian. Food is sacred. Making someone feel guilty about eating is basically a sin. Is that in the Bible? It's in the Italian Bible. Completely different book. But he was smiling too. Rachel picked up her fork, took a bite of tiramisu. It was perfect. Creamy, rich, the espresso cutting through the sweetness exactly right. Good? Gio asked. Incredible. Good. Eat every bite. Enjoy it. Life's too short for mediocre dessert and men who don't appreciate you. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Rachel said, I should probably process what just happened. Brad and I have been together for 8 months. I can't just... You can do whatever you want. That's the point. Gio set down his fork. But if you're asking my opinion, which you didn't but I'm giving anyway. Brad Coleman is a lawyer who thinks he's more important than he is. He talks down to waitstaff, he checks his phone during dinner, and he made you feel small. You deserve better. How do you know he's a lawyer? I know a lot of things. That's ominous. That's practical. I pay attention. He paused. Rachel, I'm not asking you to make any decisions tonight. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know that what he said was wrong. You're not chubby. You're perfect. and anyone worth your time would know that. Rachel felt something crack open in her chest. When was the last time someone had defended her like this? Had seen her and liked what they saw without conditions? "Thank you," she said quietly. "For intervening. For the tiramisu. For saying—" She stopped, emotion making her voice thick. "For saying what you said. I meant every word." They finished their desserts. Gio told her about growing up in the North End, about his family's businesses, carefully vague but honest enough. Rachel told him about her cafe, about baking, about wanting to eventually open her own bakery someday. "You should," Gio said. "You'd be incredible at it. That's a big investment. Big risk. The best things usually are." When the check came, Gio paid for both their dinners before Rachel could protest. "Your ex-boyfriend left you with the bill. I'm correcting his mistake." "Gio, that's too much. It's nothing. And it's done." He stood, offered his hand. "Come on, I'll walk you home." "You don't have to." "I know, I want to." They walked through the North End together, the familiar streets quiet in the late evening. Rachel lived above a bookstore 3 blocks from her cafe. When they reached her building, she turned to face Gio. "Thank you. For tonight. For everything. Thank you for letting me improve a terrible evening slightly." "You did more than slightly." She hesitated. "Will I see you tomorrow? At the cafe?" 7:30, like always. His smile was soft. "I'll order the usual. Espresso and cornetto. And a few minutes of your time, if you'll give it to me. I think I can manage that." Gio stepped closer, not touching but close enough that Rachel could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle. "Rachel, what I said in the restaurant, I meant it. You're perfect. Don't let anyone make you believe otherwise." Before she could respond, he kissed her forehead. Gentle, brief, respectful. Then he stepped back. "Good night, Rachel Green. Good night, Giovanni Russo." She watched him walk away, his figure disappearing into the shadows of the North End. Then she went upstairs to her apartment and cried. But not because Brad had called her chubby. Because someone had defended her. Had called her perfect. Had seen her and liked what he saw. Her phone buzzed. Brad, naturally. That was embarrassing. Who was that guy? Are you seeing him? Is that why you've been distant? We need to talk about this. Call me. Rachel stared at the message for a long moment. Then she deleted it. And blocked his number. And felt for the first time in 8 months, like she could breathe. The next morning, Rachel arrived at Cafe Amore at 6 a.m. to prep for the day. Her boss Angelo was already there, working on the pastry dough. "You're here early," he said, looking up. "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine." Rachel tied on her apron. "Actually, better than fine." "Yeah? You seem different. Good different." "Brad and I broke up." Angelo paused mid-roll. "Finally, that guy was an ass. Sorry, but it's true." "It's very true." Rachel started measuring coffee beans. "Also, Giovanni Russo is coming in this morning." "Gio? He comes every morning." "I know, but I'm going to actually talk to him this time. Like, really talk to him." Angelo's eyebrows rose. "Is that right? Took you long enough to notice him." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Rachel, that man has been coming here every day for 6 months. Orders the same thing, sits in the corner, watches you like you're the most interesting thing he's ever seen. And you never noticed?" "I noticed he was a regular. I didn't notice." She stopped. "Was it obvious?" "To everyone except you, apparently." Angelo grinned. "Gio's a good man. Respected. Little dangerous, maybe, but good to people who matter to him. If he's interested in you, that's a compliment." "Little dangerous how?" "Family business." but the legitimate kind mostly. He keeps the neighborhood safe, helps local businesses, takes care of people. Old school values, you know? Angelo went back to his dough. Could do a lot worse than Giovanni Russo. I just got out of a relationship with an idiot who didn't deserve you. Now you have a chance with someone who might actually appreciate you. Don't overthink it. At 7:30 exactly, the cafe door opened. Gio walked in wearing another expensive suit, dark sunglasses that he removed as he entered, and an expression that shifted from professional to warm the moment he saw Rachel. "Good morning," he said, approaching the counter. "Good morning, the usual." "Please." Rachel made his espresso with hands that were steadier than she expected. When she set it down with his cornetto, their fingers brushed. "Thank you," Gio said quietly. "For last night, for not running away when things got complicated. Thank you for defending me, for saying what you said." "I meant it." His eyes held hers. Every word. "I blocked Brad's number." Something fierce and satisfied crossed Gio's face. "Good. So I'm single now, officially. How unfortunate for Brad. How fortunate for everyone else." Rachel smiled despite herself. "You're very confident." "I'm honest." He picked up his espresso. "Rachel, I'd like to take you to dinner. Proper dinner. Just us. No terrible ex-boyfriends to interrupt. Would you consider that?" "I literally just broke up with someone." "I'm aware. I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm asking you to dinner." "You kicked out my ex-boyfriend last night and now you're asking me on a date. That's very fast." "I've been wanting to ask you for 6 months. Last night just gave me the courage." He smiled slightly. "So what do you say?" Rachel thought about Brad. About 8 months of feeling too big, too loud, too much. About comments disguised as concern and criticism dressed up as help. Then she thought about Gio saying, "You're perfect," like it was the simplest truth in the world. "Okay," she said. "Dinner, but nowhere fancy. Somewhere we can actually talk." "I know just the place." Gio's smile widened. "Tomorrow night? 7? 7 works." "Good." He started toward his usual table, then turned back. "And Rachel, wear whatever makes you comfortable. You're beautiful no matter what." He sat down, pulled out his newspaper like nothing earth-shattering had just happened. Rachel stood behind the counter, heart racing, face flushed, feeling like her entire world had shifted on its axis in the span of 12 hours. Angelo appeared at her elbow. "You're smiling." "I have a date." "With Gio." "With Gio." "Good. He'll treat you right. And if he doesn't, I'll poison his cornetto." "Angelo." "What?" "I'm protective. You're like a daughter to me." He squeezed her shoulder. "Be happy, Rachel. You deserve it." Later that morning, after the rush had died down and Gio had left with a smile and a promise to pick her up tomorrow, Rachel's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "This is Brad. I'm texting from my office phone since you blocked me, which was childish. We need to talk. That scene last night was embarrassing, and I think you owe me an explanation. Also, who was that guy? Are you cheating on me? Call me. B." Rachel stared at the message for a long moment. Then she blocked that number too, and went back to work with a smile on her face. Because for the first time in 8 months, she felt like herself again. And it felt perfect. The next evening, Rachel changed outfits 4 times before finally settling on jeans and a soft green sweater that made her eyes stand out. Casual, comfortable, exactly what Gio had suggested. She stared at herself in the mirror, trying to silence the voice in her head that sounded suspiciously like Brad. The sweater was fitted, not tight, but it showed her curves. Brad would have suggested something looser, something that flattered her figure better. Rachel told that voice to shut up and put on her favorite earrings. At exactly 7 p.m., her doorbell rang. She opened it to find Gio standing there in dark jeans and a black Henley, looking unfairly attractive without even trying. "You look beautiful," he said immediately. "You haven't even seen the outfit properly. I just opened the door." "Don't need to. You always look beautiful." He offered his arm. "Ready?" The restaurant he'd chosen was small, a family-owned place tucked into a side street, the kind of spot only locals knew about. No fancy linens, no pretentious wine lists, just good food and warm atmosphere. The owner greeted Gio with a hug and knowing eyes. "Giovanni, and you brought someone, finally." "Rosa, this is Rachel. Rachel, Rosa Benedetti. She's been feeding me since I was 8 years old." Rosa studied Rachel with sharp grandmother eyes, then smiled warmly. "Beautiful girl. Good curves. Italian men like women with something to hold on to, not these skinny models." She patted Rachel's cheek. "You eat tonight, real portions. Gio, you make sure she eats." "That's the plan, Rosa." They were seated at a quiet table in the corner, away from the kitchen noise, but with a perfect view of the whole restaurant. Gio sat with his back to the wall, Rachel noticed. The kind of habit that spoke to always being aware of exits and angles. "You brought me somewhere your family knows you," Rachel said after Rosa had bustled away with promises of the best meal they'd ever had. "Rosa's not actually family, just feels like it." Gio smiled. "But yes, I wanted you somewhere comfortable. Somewhere real. Not trying to impress me with expensive wine and white tablecloths. I could. But I'd rather you see who I actually am instead of who I could pretend to be." Wine appeared. From the private reserve for Giovanni's special girl. And Rachel had to laugh at Gio's slightly embarrassed expression. "Sorry, Rosa's enthusiastic. She called me your special girl. I noticed. We've been on a date for exactly 10 minutes. I've been drinking your coffee for 6 months. Rosa knows I don't bring women here. She's jumping to conclusions." "Are they wrong conclusions?" Gio met her eyes directly. "No, they're not wrong. I'm just trying to pace myself so I don't scare you away. By bringing me to a restaurant where the owner already thinks I'm your girlfriend." I said I was trying, didn't say I was succeeding, but he was smiling. "Rachel, I'm not good at games. I like you. I've liked you since the first time you made my coffee and smiled at me like I was a person instead of a name. Last night just gave me the excuse to finally do something about it. Most people would think it's too fast. Most people didn't watch you get called chubby by an idiot who didn't deserve you." His expression hardened slightly. "I'm not most people, and I'm not interested in playing it slow when I know what I want." "What do you want?" "You. Dating you properly. Learning everything about you. Making you smile like you did this morning when you agreed to dinner." He paused. "Is that too honest?" "It's terrifying. But also kind of amazing." Rachel took a sip of wine for courage. Brad never talked like this. Everything was calculated. Proper timelines for relationship milestones. Strategic dating. Strategic dating? His words. He had a whole system. Coffee dates for first meetings, dinner for fourth dates, meeting friends at 6 months, meeting family at 1 year. Everything planned. And where were you in this strategic timeline? 8 months. We'd met each other's friends, but not families yet. He was thinking about scheduling a trip to meet his parents in March. She laughed, but it was bitter. I should have known something was wrong when he called it scheduling instead of inviting me. He's an idiot. You keep saying that, because it keeps being true. Gio reached across the table, took her hand. Rachel, I don't do timelines. I don't do strategic dating. I do honest. I like you. I want to spend time with you. I want to learn what makes you laugh and what makes you happy. And I want you to know from day one that I think you're incredible exactly as you are. Food started arriving, course after course of incredible Italian home cooking, pasta that Rosa's grandmother had taught her to make, chicken that had been braising all day, vegetables from her garden, bread baked fresh that afternoon, and Rachel ate. All of it. Without counting calories or feeling guilty or waiting for someone to comment on her portions. "This is amazing," she said around a bite of pasta. "Rosa's the best cook in the North End. Don't tell my mother I said that." "Your mother cooks?" "Every Sunday. Big family dinners. Loud, chaotic, everyone talking over each other. My mother presides over it all like a general directing troops." He smiled. "You'd like her. She's formidable but kind." "That sounds nice. Brad's family was very formal." "Formal how?" "Quiet dinners where everyone ate with proper utensils and discussed politics politely. His mother kept asking me about my career plans, like she was interviewing me for a position." Rachel speared another piece of chicken. She suggested I should consider law school if I wanted to maximize my degree's potential. "Did you want to go to law school?" "God, no. I wanted to open a bakery. Still want to, eventually." "Then you should. It's not that simple. It takes money, planning, business knowledge. You have a business degree. You've been working in the industry for years. You know what works and what doesn't." Gio leaned forward. "What's really stopping you?" Rachel was quiet for a moment. "Fear, I guess. Of failing. Of people thinking I'm foolish for trying. Of not being good enough." "People like Brad?" "People like Brad," she admitted. "He said baking was a hobby, not a career. That I should use my degree for something serious. Brad's an idiot who wouldn't know passion if it hit him in the face." Gio squeezed her hand. "You love baking. I see it every morning. The way you light up when someone compliments Angelo's pastries that you helped make. That's not a hobby. That's a calling. You really notice everything, don't you? When it comes to you, yes." They talked through dinner, through dessert, tiramisu again, because Gio insisted and Rachel was done denying herself things she loved, through coffee. About her childhood in Southie, about his growing up in the North End, about family and dreams, and the weird reality of being 27 and 28 and still figuring life out. Rachel learned that Gio was actually 38. "You look younger," she'd said, making him laugh, and that he'd taken over the family business from his father 5 years ago. That he had 2 younger sisters he was protective of, a mother who called him every day, and a weakness for old movies. "Like what?" Rachel asked. "The Godfather, obviously. I'm Italian, it's required." "Obviously. But also, and you can't tell anyone this, I love When Harry Met Sally." Rachel blinked. "The rom-com?" "The rom-com. I've seen it probably 20 times. My sisters made me watch it when I was 15 and I got hooked." He looked slightly embarrassed. "I know every line. That's adorable. That's humiliating. If any of my guys knew, I'd never hear the end of it." "Your guys?" "People who work for me. Business associates." It was a careful answer, and Rachel understood what he wasn't saying. "The family business you mentioned." "Yes. The kind where you need to sit with your back to the wall and notice exits?" Gio's expression grew serious. "Yes. Rachel, I need you to understand something. My life isn't simple. There are aspects of what I do that I can't discuss. Things that might make you uncomfortable if you knew details. I want to be honest with you. But there are limits to what I can share. Are you dangerous? I can be, when necessary, to protect what's mine." He met her eyes. "But never to you. Never to anyone who matters to me. That's a promise." Rachel should have been scared. Should have made an excuse and left. But she thought about the way he'd defended her. The way he'd said, "You're perfect," like it was fundamental truth. The way he looked at her like she was precious. "Okay," she said. okay? I grew up in Southie. I'm not naive about how neighborhoods work, how families work. I don't need to know details. I just need to know you're a good person. I try to be. For the people who matter. And I matter? You matter more than almost anyone. He said it simply, like it was obvious. Rachel, I know this is fast. I know we're technically on our first date. But I need you to know I'm serious about this. About you. I don't date casually. If this is just fun for you, I need to know now. It's not just fun. It's terrifying and wonderful, and nothing like what I'm used to. Good. I like terrifying and wonderful. They left the restaurant around 10, Rosa hugging Rachel goodbye and extracting a promise to return soon. Gio walked her home through familiar streets, his hand warm in hers. I had a really good time tonight, Rachel said when they reached her building. Good enough for a second date? Definitely good enough for a second date. Tomorrow? She laughed. Tomorrow's Sunday. Don't you have family dinner? I do. You could come. Gio, we just had our first date. I know. But my mother's going to ask about you anyway. Rosa already called her, I guarantee it. Might as well let her meet you in person. That's insane. That's Italian family dynamics. Everything moves fast. Everyone has opinions. And my mother already knows I like you because I brought you to Rosa's. He smiled. But if it's too much, I understand. We can wait. Rachel thought about Brad's strategic timeline. 6 months before meeting friends. 1 year before family. Everything carefully planned and controlled. What time? She heard herself say. Gio's smile widened. 2 p.m. I'll pick you up at 1:30. Wear comfortable clothes and bring your appetite. My mother cooks enough to feed an army. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither do I. But I'd like to figure it out together. He kissed her then. Properly this time, his hand cupping her face, his lips warm and sure. It was nothing like kissing Brad. This felt real, present, like Gio was fully there instead of already thinking about the next thing. When they pulled apart, Rachel was breathless. Good night, Rachel Green. Good night, Giovanni Russo. She watched him walk away, then went upstairs feeling like she was floating. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Rachel, it's Brad. I'm using my assistant's phone since you keep blocking me. This is ridiculous. We've been together 8 months. You owe me a conversation. That guy at the restaurant was completely out of line, and I think you're overreacting. Call me so we can discuss this like adults. B. Rachel stared at the message, then deleted it, and blocked that number too. She was done discussing, done explaining, done making herself smaller to fit into someone else's idea of acceptable. Sunday dinner at the Russo house was exactly as chaotic as Gio had promised. Rachel arrived nervous, wearing jeans and a soft sweater per Gio's instructions. He picked her up with a smile and a kiss. Casual, easy, like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. Fair warning, he said in the car. My family is overwhelming. 2 younger sisters, both married, 4 nieces and nephews total. My mother is in charge of everything. My father is quieter, but misses nothing. Various aunts and uncles will be there. Everyone will have opinions about you. That's comforting. They're going to love you. I'm just warning you it'll be loud. The Russo house was a beautiful brownstone in the heart of the North End. Gio let himself in without knocking, and immediately they were engulfed in noise. Children running, multiple conversations in Italian, the smell of garlic and wine, and something baking, a dog barking somewhere upstairs. Gio! A woman appeared, mid-30s, dark hair, Gio's eyes. You brought her, Mama. Gio brought the girl. This is my sister, Lucia, Gio said. Lucia, Rachel. Rachel, my sister who has no concept of privacy or subtlety. It's called enthusiasm. Hi. Lucia hugged Rachel like they were old friends. I've heard so much about you. Gio never brings girls home. This is huge. Mama's been cooking since 6 a.m. An older woman appeared from the kitchen, elegant, wearing an apron, her dark hair pulled back. She had Gio's bone structure and a presence that made Rachel straighten her spine involuntarily. Mama, Gio said, this is Rachel Green. Rachel, my mother, Sophia Russo. Sophia studied Rachel with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Then she smiled warmly and pulled Rachel into a hug that smelled like basil and flour. Welcome, she said. Any girl who makes my son smile like that is welcome in this house. Come, you help me in the kitchen while Gio deals with the children. Mama, I don't think... Go. The children are destroying the living room. Your father is hiding in his office. You fix this while I get to know Rachel. Gio looked at Rachel apologetically. You'll be fine. Just agree with everything she says. That's terrible advice, Sophia said, pulling Rachel toward the kitchen. Never agree with everything I say. I like women with opinions. In the kitchen, Sophia put Rachel to work making salad while she finished the pasta. They worked in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Sophia spoke. My son is smitten with you. Rachel nearly dropped the tomato she was chopping. We just started dating. I know. He called me yesterday, all excited like a teenager. Mama, I met someone. She's special. I haven't heard him talk like that in years. Sophia looked at Rachel with warm eyes. You make him happy. That matters to me. He makes me happy too. Good. You're curvy. That's good too. Italian mothers like girls who eat. Nothing worse than bringing home some skinny thing who pushes food around her plate. Sophia gestured with her wooden spoon. Gio told me about your ex-boyfriend. The one who called you Chubby. Rachel's face flushed. He told you that? Of course he told me. He was furious about it. My son, he protects what's his. Always has. She smiled. You eat at this table, you eat well. No one judges. That's a rule. Dinner was exactly as chaotic as promised. Gio's sisters, Lucia and Maria, asked Rachel dozens of questions. The nieces and nephews climbed all over Gio like he was a jungle gym. His father, Antonio, was quieter but kind, asking about her work at the cafe with genuine interest. And the food, God, the food. Course after course of incredible Italian cooking. Everyone ate with enthusiasm, reached across each other for bread, argued about soccer and rapid Italian, laughed at inside jokes. Rachel had never felt so welcomed in her life. You fit, Maria said toward the end of the meal. Some people come to family dinners and they're like, trying too hard, you know? But you just fit. She's nervous, Lucia corrected, but holding her own. I like that. Everyone likes her, Sophia said firmly. Which is good, because Giovanni is clearly in love with her already. Mama, Gio protested. What? It's obvious. You look at her like she's the son. Your father looked at me like that. It's genetic. Antonio raised his wine glass. It's true. The Russo men fall hard and fast. I knew with your mother after 2 days. See? Sophia gestured triumphantly. 2 days. You've known her how long? 6 months of coffee, 2 actual dates. Close enough. She patted Rachel's hand. You're good for him. You come back next Sunday, yes? It wasn't really a question. I'd love to, Rachel said honestly. Later, after dinner and dessert and helping clean up, Gio drove Rachel home. She was quiet, processing everything. Overwhelmed? He asked. In the best way. Your family is wonderful. They loved you. My mother already told me you're invited to Christmas. It's October. She plans ahead. He pulled up to her building. Rachel, I need to tell you something. His tone made her nervous. Okay? Brad came by my office yesterday. Rachel's stomach dropped. What? He wanted to know who I was, wanted to warn me away from you, said you were his girlfriend and I needed to back off." Gio's expression darkened. "I explained very clearly that you're not his girlfriend anymore and he needs to move on." "How did you explain it?" "Politely but firmly. He left understanding the situation." "Gio, what did you do?" "Nothing permanent. Just made it clear that bothering you would be a bad idea, for his health and his career. You threatened him. I strongly suggested he reconsider his choices. That's threatening him. That's protecting you." He turned to face her fully. "Rachel, I need you to understand. I don't do half measures. If someone threatens what's mine, I handle it. That's who I am. If that makes you uncomfortable, I need to know now." Rachel thought about Brad. About 8 months of subtle put-downs. About feeling too big, too loud, too much. Then she thought about Gio saying, "You're perfect," and meaning it. "Okay," she said. "Okay. Don't hurt him. But making him understand to leave me alone, I'm okay with that." She smiled slightly. "Actually, I'm more than okay with that." Gio's expression softened. "You're amazing." "I'm practical. Brad doesn't understand rejection. Maybe he'll understand you." "He will." It was a promise. They sat in the car for a moment, the weight of everything hanging between them. "This is crazy," Rachel said quietly. 2 days ago I had a boyfriend. Now I'm dating someone new, meeting his family, and apparently you're handling my ex-boyfriend situation. Too much? Probably. But also, she looked at him. Also kind of perfect. Gio smiled and pulled her into a kiss that made her forget about Brad, about fear, about anything except the feeling of being wanted exactly as she was. "Same time next Sunday?" he asked when they finally pulled apart. "Family dinner?" "Family dinner. Fair warning. My mother's already planning to teach you her sauce recipe." "That sounds wonderful." "You say that now. Wait until you're stirring sauce for 3 hours while she supervises every move." "I look forward to it." And surprisingly, Rachel meant it. For the first time in years, she was looking forward to everything. 3 weeks into dating Gio, Rachel's life had transformed in ways she was still processing. She'd been to 4 Sunday dinners. Sophia had indeed taught her the family sauce recipe. 3 hours of stirring, tasting, adjusting. Rachel had taken notes like she was documenting state secrets. She'd met Gio's entire extended family. Aunts who asked invasive questions with love. Uncles who tested her with terrible jokes. Cousins who welcomed her like she'd always belonged. She'd learned that Gio kept a gun in his car, and another in his office. That he had meetings he couldn't tell her about. That sometimes he got phone calls at 3 a.m. and had to leave immediately. She'd also learned that he texted her good morning every day. That he stopped by the cafe most afternoons just to see her for 10 minutes. That he remembered she hated cilantro and loved old bookstores. That he looked at her like she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. And for the first time in her adult life, Rachel believed she was beautiful. She'd stopped counting calories, stopped wearing clothes that hid her curves, stopped apologizing for taking up space in the world. It was liberating. It was also apparently noticeable. "You're glowing," Angelo said one morning, watching her frost cupcakes with unconscious happiness. "Love looks good on you." It's been 3 weeks. "So, my wife and I got married after 6 weeks. When you know, you know." "That's insane. That's Italian," he grinned. "Gio treating you well?" "Better than well. He's—" Rachel stopped, trying to find words. "He's everything I didn't know I needed." "Good. He's protective of you, you know. Came by last week, asked me to call him if anyone gives you trouble." "He what?" "Nothing bad. Just wanted to make sure you're safe. That's what good men do. They protect what matters to them." Rachel was still processing that when the cafe door opened and Brad walked in. She froze, cupcake halfway to the display case. Brad looked the same. Expensive suit, styled hair, that practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. But something was different. He looked nervous. "Rachel," he said, approaching the counter. "Can we talk? I'm working. 5 minutes, please." Angelo appeared at her elbow, expression hard. She said she's working. "This doesn't concern you. Everything concerning Rachel concerns me. She's family." Angelo crossed his arms. "You need to leave." Brad's jaw tightened. "Rachel, I just want to apologize for what I said at the restaurant. I was out of line." "Yes, you were." "So, can we talk? Somewhere private?" "No." Rachel set down the cupcake with steady hands. "Brad, we're done. I've blocked your numbers, I've made it clear I don't want contact, and you showing up at my work is crossing a line. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. We've been together 8 months. You spent 8 months making me feel like I wasn't good enough, like I was too fat, too loud, too much. You criticized my job, my friends, my body. You made me smaller." Rachel's voice was calm, certain. "And then I met someone who makes me feel bigger, who thinks I'm perfect exactly as I am. So no, Brad, we're not talking. We're not getting back together. We're done." Brad's expression shifted from conciliatory to angry. "It's that guy, isn't it? From the restaurant. You're dating him." "That's none of your business." "It is my business. We were together." "Were." Past tense. Rachel leaned forward. "Brad, I'm going to say this once, very clearly. Leave me alone. Stop texting from different numbers. Stop showing up at my work. Move on. You don't get to just decide we're done. Relationships are two-way." The cafe door opened again. Gio walked in, saw Brad, and his expression went cold. "Problem?" he asked quietly. Brad paled. "I'm just talking to Rachel. Rachel told you to leave, so leave. This is a public place. I can be here if I want." "Actually," Angelo interjected, "this is my cafe, and I'm asking you to leave. You're making my employee uncomfortable. I just want to talk." Gio moved closer, not threatening but unmistakably dangerous. Brad Coleman, 31 years old, associate at Whitman, Brenner and Associates. You live at 432 Commonwealth Avenue, apartment 3B. You drive a silver BMW, license plate 7YK482. Your favorite restaurant is the Capitol Grill, where you have lunch meetings every Tuesday. Should I continue? Brad went white. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm demonstrating that I know where you are at all times, that I could find you whenever I wanted, that you have no privacy from me." Gio's voice was perfectly calm. "Now, Rachel has asked you nicely to leave her alone. I'm not asking nicely. I'm telling you. You don't call her. You don't text her. You don't come to her workplace. You don't exist in her world anymore. Understood?" "This is insane. Understood?" Gio's tone didn't change, but something in his eyes made Brad step back involuntarily. "Fine. Whatever. She's not worth this." Brad looked at Rachel with contempt. "I was trying to help you, trying to make you better, but clearly you'd rather be with some thug who threatens people. I'd rather be with someone who thinks I'm perfect exactly as I am," Rachel said quietly. "Now leave, Brad, before this gets uglier." Brad left, slamming the door behind him. The cafe was silent for a moment. Then Angelo started laughing. "That was beautiful. License plate 7YK482. You actually know that?" "I know everything about him." Gio turned to Rachel. "You okay?" "I'm perfect." She smiled, using his word deliberately. "Thank you for having my back. Always." He moved behind the counter. Angelo didn't stop him and pulled Rachel into a hug. "He won't bother you again, I promise." How can you be sure? Because I'm very good at making myself understood. Rachel leaned into his embrace, feeling safe and protected and valued. I love that about you. What? The way you protect what's yours, the way you make me feel safe, the way you... She stopped, realizing what she'd almost said. Gio pulled back, looked at her with serious eyes. The way I what? Nothing. Never mind. Rachel. She took a breath. The way you love me. I was going to say the way you love me, but that's crazy because it's only been 3 weeks and I know that's too fast and I shouldn't have said anything. He kissed her. Right there in the cafe, in front of Angelo and the morning customers, deep and sure, and absolutely certain. When he pulled back, his eyes were warm. I do love you. I've been trying not to say it because I didn't want to scare you. But yes, I love you, Rachel Green, completely and without reservation. That's insane. We barely know each other. I know you stress bake when you're anxious. I know you're kind to everyone, even when they don't deserve it. I know you light up when you talk about opening your own bakery. I know you take your coffee black because your grandmother did. I know you're beautiful and brilliant and deserve someone who sees that. He touched her face gently. I know everything that matters. And I love you. Rachel felt tears prick her eyes. I love you too. Which is crazy and fast and nothing like anything I've ever felt before. Good. I like crazy and fast. You keep saying that, because it keeps being true. Angelo cleared his throat loudly. This is very sweet, but you're in my cafe. Take it outside or help customers. Choose. Gio laughed and released Rachel reluctantly. I'll come by after you close. We'll celebrate Brad's final exit with good wine and better tiramisu. That sounds perfect. After he left, Angelo gave Rachel a knowing look. 3 weeks, and he loves you. Told you. When you know, you know. You're insufferable. I'm right. There's a difference. He handed her an apron. Now get back to work. Those cupcakes aren't going to frost themselves. That night, Gio took Rachel to his apartment for the first time. A penthouse in the North End with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. This is incredible, Rachel said, taking in the view. It's home. He poured wine, handed her a glass. I wanted to talk to you about something. His serious tone made her nervous. Okay. Your bakery. You want to open one eventually, right? Eventually, yes. When I have the money saved, when I have a solid business plan, when... What if you did it now? Rachel blinked. What? Open your bakery. Now. I can help with the investment, with finding a location, with... Gio, I can't let you buy me a bakery. I'm not buying you a bakery. I'm investing in a business I believe in, run by someone I believe in. He moved closer. Rachel, you're talented. You have the skills, the knowledge, the passion. The only thing holding you back is money. So let me help with that. That's too much. It's an investment. You pay me back when the business is profitable. Standard terms, everything documented. But I want to see you succeed. I want to see you doing what you love instead of working for someone else. Why? Because I love you. Because you deserve to chase your dreams. Because... He stopped, smiled slightly. Because 6 months ago, you made me coffee and smiled at me like I was worth noticing. And I've been a little bit in love with you ever since. Rachel felt her heart expand. 6 months? Really? Really. I'm just slow at making moves. You kicked out my ex-boyfriend and told me I'm perfect within 12 hours of actually speaking to me. That's not slow. That's decisive. There's a difference. He pulled her close. So what do you say? Ready to open Rachel's Bakery? That's a terrible name. Then pick a better one, but say yes. She should think about it, should make a careful plan, consider all the angles, be practical. Instead, she said, yes. Gio's smile was brilliant. Yeah? Yeah, let's do something crazy. My favorite kind of thing. He kissed her then, and Rachel felt like she was flying, like everything she'd ever wanted was suddenly within reach. That night, they talked about the bakery for hours, about what kind of space she wanted, what she'd specialize in, what the aesthetic would be. Gio pulled out a laptop and started researching available commercial spaces in the North End. There's one on Salem Street, he said. Perfect location, reasonable rent. Want to look at it tomorrow? Tomorrow's Monday. I work. Call in sick. This is more important. I can't just call in sick to look at bakery spaces. Why not? Angelo will understand. Hell, he'll probably throw you a party when you give notice. I haven't decided to give notice yet. You will, once you see the space and realize it's perfect. He smiled. Trust me. This is your future. 3 months later, Rachel stood in her bakery, Rachel's Sweet Provisions, Sophia had suggested the name, preparing for opening day. Those 3 months had been a whirlwind, finding the perfect space on Salem Street, negotiating the lease with a landlord who remembered Gio's grandfather, designing the layout with Sophia's input and Lucia's eye for aesthetics, ordering equipment, hiring contractors, dealing with permits and licenses, and 1,000 tiny details that made Rachel's head spin. Gio had been there for all of it, not taking over, but supporting, introducing her to contractors who owed him favors, reviewing contracts with his lawyers, making sure she got fair prices and quality work. He'd even spent 2 weekends helping paint the walls, looking ridiculously domestic in old jeans with paint splattered in his hair. You know you're supposed to get paint on the walls, not yourself, Rachel had teased. I'm multitasking. Walls and hair. Very efficient. You're very distracting. Is that a complaint? Absolutely not. Now, looking at the finished space, Rachel could hardly believe it was real. The exposed brick walls she'd wanted. The large windows letting in morning light. Vintage display cases Gio had found at an estate sale, refinished to gleaming perfection. The kitchen, her kitchen, commercial grade with equipment she'd only dreamed about. A vintage cash register that actually worked. Mismatched chairs and tables that gave the space character instead of corporate uniformity. It was hers. All of it. You ready? Gio asked, appearing with coffee, because he knew she'd been too nervous to make her own this morning. Terrified. What if no one comes? What if the pastries are terrible? What if everyone comes and the pastries are incredible and you sell out by noon? He pulled her close, familiar and solid. Rachel, you're amazing. Your food is amazing. This is going to be a huge success. You're biased. I'm honest. There's a difference. He kissed her forehead, gentle and reassuring. And even if I wasn't, Sophia's been telling everyone in the North End about her future daughter-in-law's bakery. You'll have customers. Rachel's heart skipped. Future daughter-in-law? What? She's Italian. She plans ahead. But Gio was smiling, that soft expression he got when he talked about their future. For the record, I agree with her assessment. We've been dating 4 months, and I've been sure about you for 10 months total. Ever since you smiled at me in the cafe and I realized I'd spend the rest of my life trying to earn that smile every day. His hand cupped her face. So when you're ready, I'll ask properly, with a ring and everything. But just so you know, I'm ready whenever you are. That's very confident. That's very honest. He checked his watch. 15 minutes until you open. You have everything ready? Rachel looked around at the display cases she'd spent all night filling. Cannoli, traditional and pistachio. Sfogliatelle, both riccia and frolla. Biscotti in 3 flavors. Cornetti filled with custard and Nutella. Tiramisu in individual portions. Cookies, tarts, a whole section of specialty items she'd perfected over months of testing. And in the back, carefully wrapped and waiting, a special order for Sophia. Almond cookies from her grandmother's recipe that Rachel had spent weeks perfecting under her watchful eye. I think so. I hope so. God, what if I forgot something? You didn't forget anything. You've been planning this for 3 months. You have backup inventory in the kitchen, extra supplies, contingency plans for your contingency plans. He pulled her close. You're the most prepared person I know. This is your dream, Rachel. You earned this. Now go live it. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and walked to the door. Let's do this. The grand opening was a massive success. The North End showed up in force. Regulars from the cafe, Gio's entire family, neighbors who'd watched the renovation with interest. By noon, Rachel had sold out of everything except tiramisu, which she'd made extra of because Sophia had insisted. Angelo came, brought flowers, hugged her tight. Proud of you, kid. You did good. Sophia brought half the Russo family, bought enough pastries to feed an army, kissed Rachel's cheeks. Beautiful. Perfect. You're going to do amazing things. Brad didn't show up. Rachel hadn't thought about him in weeks, hadn't missed him, hadn't even noticed his absence from her life. At closing, exhausted and happy, Rachel found Gio waiting with champagne. Sold out, he said. I'm not surprised. I can't believe it worked. I can. You're incredible, Rachel. I've been trying to tell you that for months. She moved into his arms, feeling grateful and loved and perfectly herself. Thank you for believing in me, for pushing me to do this. She stopped. For seeing me. Always. He kissed her gently. Ready to go home? Your place or mine? Ours, eventually. But for now, mine. I have more champagne, and Sophia sent home tiramisu. Your mother is the best. She really is. He took her hand. Come on. Let's celebrate your success properly. As they walked through the North End together, past familiar streets and neighbors who waved hello, Rachel thought about how much had changed in 4 months. She'd left a relationship that made her small. She'd found one that made her bigger. She'd stopped apologizing for existing in a body that took up space. She'd opened a bakery, lived her dream, became the person she'd always wanted to be. All because one night, in a restaurant, someone had called her Chubby. And someone else had said, "You're perfect," and meant it. Epilogue. 1 year later, Rachel's Sweet Provisions had been open for a year, and it was thriving. Lines out the door most mornings. Featured in Boston Magazine as Best New Bakery. Requests for wedding cakes and special orders that kept Rachel happily busy. She'd hired 2 employees, both young women from the neighborhood who needed a chance. She'd expanded the menu. She'd started teaching baking classes on weekends. She'd also moved in with Gio 6 months ago, into a larger apartment with a kitchen she could actually bake in. They'd adopted a dog, a massive Italian mastiff named Bruno, who thought he was a lapdog. And last month, Gio had proposed. Not at a restaurant or in public. Just the 2 of them, in their apartment, after she'd been stress baking cookies at 2 a.m. because she was nervous about a big wedding cake order. He'd come into the kitchen, pulled her into his arms, and said, "Marry me." What? Marry me. Make this official. Let me spend the rest of my life making sure you know you're perfect. That's not a real proposal. Rachel Green, will you marry me? She'd laughed through tears. That's only slightly better. Is it working? Yes, you ridiculous man. Yes, I'll marry you. The ring had been his grandmother's, an emerald surrounded by diamonds, vintage and perfect. It caught the light when she kneaded dough, when she piped frosting, when she did all the things she loved. Now, on the 1-year anniversary of her bakery opening, Rachel stood behind the counter watching Gio walk in at 7:30, still consistent after all this time. "Good morning," she said, already preparing his espresso. Good morning, future Mrs. Russo. She loved how that sounded. The usual? Please. And whatever new pastry you're testing today. Hazelnut cream puffs. Sophia's recipe. Perfect. He took the espresso she handed him, their fingers brushing in the familiar way. You know what today is? 1 year since we opened. 1 year since you became your own boss, chased your dream, became the incredible woman I always knew you were. I was always that woman. I just needed someone to help me see it. And I needed someone to make me want to be better, to be worthy of. He smiled. We're good for each other. We really are. An older couple came in, regulars who'd been coming since week 1. Rachel, Mrs. DeLuca exclaimed. We heard the good news. You're getting married. We are. Giovanni Russo. Good family, good man. Mr. DeLuca nodded approvingly. When's the wedding? June. Sophia's already planning everything. Of course she is. Italian mothers live for weddings. Mrs. DeLuca ordered her usual cannoli. We're so happy for you, dear. You deserve all the happiness. After they left, Gio caught Rachel's hand. You do, you know, deserve all the happiness. Every bit of it. So do you. I have you. That's more than enough. Rachel thought about a year ago, about Brad calling her chubby, about feeling small and wrong and never good enough. Now she felt perfect. Not because she'd changed her body or her personality or anything fundamental about who she was, but because someone saw her exactly as she was and loved her for it. You know what? She said. What? I'm glad Brad called me chubby. Gio's eyebrows rose. That's an unexpected take. If he hadn't, you wouldn't have intervened. We wouldn't have started talking. I wouldn't have left him. None of this would have happened. She gestured around her bakery, at her dream made real. So I'm glad he said it, because it led me here. To your bakery, to you, to us, to this life where I get to do what I love with someone who loves me. She smiled. I'm glad for all of it. Gio pulled her close, kissed her right there in front of morning customers who smiled and looked away politely. I love you, Rachel Green, soon to be Russo. I love you too, Giovanni Russo, who once kicked out my terrible ex-boyfriend. Best decision I ever made. Second best, she corrected. Best was telling me I'm perfect. You are perfect. I was just stating facts. She kissed him again, tasting coffee and certainty and a future full of pastries and love and all the happiness she'd never let herself believe she deserved. And every morning, when Gio came in at 7:30 for his espresso and cornetto, Rachel remembered that moment in the restaurant, when someone had tried to make her small, and someone else had made her feel infinite. Perfect, he'd said. And finally, after all this time, Rachel believed him.